Hey guys, David Villa here. Welcome to GC Talks. I am so excited about today's guest. We have Bill Purvis. He's pastor emeritus at Cascade Hills Church in Columbus, Georgia. He is founder of BP Leadership and BP Leadership Podcast. You're going to be blessed today. Let's get right to it. Bill, thank you for being with us today on GC Talks. And I want to jump into really just something that straightforward. I often get annoyed when I'm interviewed by leaders or leaders interview others. And I say, you know what, I want to bring something actionable to the table. And I want to ask you this. What qualities today, leaders, men of faith, women of faith, what qualities do you think that leaders of faith lack most today?
At this stage, I'll be honest with you, I think it's courage, and it wouldn't always be. There was a time I would have said they lacked the humility. You know, back in the 80s, I saw a lot of arrogant leaders. And then in the 90s, I think there was a hunger that came along. In this day and time right now, I think real leadership is now defined by who steps out. That's what the word lead means. You know, you're in the front. And the biggest thing I'm having the conversations with are leaders who are afraid to step out. They've enjoyed the platform that they've gotten, you know, and they've worked hard to get there, but now they're afraid they'll lose it if they speak out or have courage or define their values. And I think they don't understand it. That's the way you really win. You know, now's the time of all that leaders ought to step up. This is the environment we're in that they ought to have some courage. And you don't have to be ugly, but you ought to say, this is what I believe, this is how God blesses, and this is how God honors. I follow his path. My job, my life, my family, and everything benefits from it. So for me, courage would be one of the things I think is big on the table.
That's good. I love that. You know, one of the things that you know, I did, and I want to ask you about this. I did this for a big part of my career as a Christian. You know, I didn't always put the faith in the forefront. It was in my life, but how important? I mean, it kind of goes along with the courage. But how important of a role has your personal faith played in your business and leadership and ministry success? Your personal faith, Bill Purvis.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's the best. One is my personal faith gives me access to God, which allows the Holy Spirit to give me wisdom for decisions. So whatever I'm going to do, before I do it, if I'm going to do something and it's going to affect my life, I may not pray as hard as I would if you asked me for advice. I don't want to mess up your life. So as a leader, what I want to do is I want to be able to listen to my own to the voice of the Holy Spirit in my own spirit to tell me walk this way or don't do that or make this investment or hire this person or there's a red flag. And so I think people have a real advantage when you have a faith if you will apply the relationship that you have with the Holy Spirit, with God, into your daily decisions. So for me, that's the best way. There've been times, David, I've seen things that look good, and the Holy Spirit just said, no, it's not for you. And I backed off, and later I'm so glad I did. Other times I've made steps that people have said, why are you doing that? And they couldn't understand it in the natural, but I had heard in my spirit, make this investment, step in this direction, hire that person. And I look back later and say, I'm so glad I did, because naturally it wouldn't have fit. But that's the advantage that every Christian has, that I'm afraid if not, you're going to play the game like everybody else.
Looking at the men and women in the Bible, you know, of faith, the ones we preach about, the ones that we talk about, you know, obviously the circumstances are different in a modern world. And, you know, thank God we don't have to deal with some of the basic, just life they had to deal with. But looking at it from a position of faith, you know, and it goes along really with what you just said. You know, are we as bold sometimes as they were in our decisions? And I guess what I'm asking, Bill, you have Christians and believers, I mean, good people that are doing things, but, you know, are we too cautious sometimes? And have we gone too far on that side of the line? Is there a need maybe for a revival in leadership when it comes to boldness and comes to stepping out and implementing our faith and putting our money, so to speak, where our mouth is?
Absolutely. The problem is if good, godly people don't speak up, you know what takes place. The ground that the devil gets and everybody else gets is much more. And so there's a place for us as, you know, you're a father, you're a husband. So your first primary responsibility is protect your family, teach them the right values, all the rest. That's everybody that's in that role is a leader. And then if you step into the corporate world, now there's people that working with you, they're under your charge. They need a man who knows God and walks in the right path so they can feel good about going to work and implementing these same values and transferring it on to their families. I think and part of it is putting the Lord first in your life. That's really where, years ago, I had the privilege many years ago of driving a car from an airport, picking up a world-class insurance man. He was the top of his company. And so I asked him a couple of questions. I'm just a young kid. And here's what he said that was cool to me. He said, Bill, my occupation is the insurance company. I'm a CEO. He said, that's my occupation. But my preoccupation is Jesus. And he said, I focus on him more than I do work. And he gives me the peace and the grace to be able to do the work. And I just like that way he phrased it. My occupation is this, but my preoccupation, what I think about most, is him.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And so let me kind of delve into more personal, what drives you? I know you've experienced success and, you've done a lot of things. And it seems like you're doing more today than ever before. And what an amazing ministry and leadership, ministry that you have there. What do you do? What does Bill Purvis do to improve himself as a leader at this stage in the game?
Right. Okay, a couple of things. One is I listen to people like David Villa. I find people like you and other people that are growing, and I want to be in the pack of people that are growing. If I'm around people that are apathetic or comfortable, I'm going to be that. So I want to be around the people that are growing. Another is I have to learn to say no to a lot of good things, to say yes to the best things. And that's hard for me because I want to say yes to everybody. I want to say yes to every need. My heart is there, but I also know that I won't make a bigger or lasting impact if I don't say no to a lot of the things other people can do as well, and just say yes to the things I do best. And that's not always easy for me, but that's learning how to say no, because I see a lot of good leaders that they work hard but not smart. You probably see a lot of people in your business that they are so good and they're so zealous, but they just are not working wise. And so in order to grow in your faith and make a difference, I want to keep growing and keep my eyes on him, but I also want to be able to manage my time and my health and my opportunities right. So stewarding your own schedule is going to be real important. And it comes back to your calendar too. There's an old saying that John Maxwell passed to me years ago that I love. He says, it's not whether your calendar will be full. It'll always be full. Something will come up. It's who and what will fill your calendar. And so my wife and I each year take our calendar before the first of the year. We write out and X out all the dates we're going to spend together. We start putting our primary priorities on that calendar because something will come up. And then when something comes up, I can say, listen, I'm already scheduled. I'm sorry, I'd like to, but you take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself that way and keep focused, the interesting thing is that it'll take you all over the place and you'll be just like floating. So, and one thing I say when I mention that word, I did a study years ago of all great leaders and tried to find the common denominators. And the one thing every one of them had was focus. Every single one of them that learned to focus. And I think, that you can, light scattered will light up a dim room, but light focused like a laser will cut through steel.
It's good. What drives you currently?
My big thing is souls. I'm just a soul conscious man. I'm concerned about where people are going to spend eternity. And so that's kind of the driver, and people will say, no matter what conversation you're in, at the end of the day, somewhere Bill's going to bring that up. Well, it's like this. If you love your wife, you love your job, you love your kids, you're going to bring them up. And I really want people to know the God I know. So that's what helps me in spiritual leadership as well.
Last question here, Bill, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask everybody that I interview on GC Talks, because I feel like I want to explain this a little bit. We want to quit as leaders sometimes, and one of the issues I've always had talking to people that I used to think had something to offer me. So many of them let me down in that area because they couldn't articulate, that they wanted to quit. I thought I was just the only one, but I've come to find out that we all go through this. And how do you lead? You lead when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, good questions, David. Let me expound on that 1 second here. You'll hear this crazy statement: quitting is not an option. Well, that's not true. Quitting is always an option. Quitting's the first option. We think about quitting first. Mm-hmm. And so it's true. We have to decide there's going to come a time when I'm going to want to throw in the towel. There's going to come a time when it's going to be overwhelming. And when that happens, a lot of it is because we're either leading on empty. We're giving out more than we're taking in at the time. The demands are there. It may be because we hadn't planned our getaway times or prioritized our quitting, our moments where we can rest. Mm-hmm. And you go too long without a rest. So a lot of times we get ready to quit that way, or we're playing out of our strengths. If you're really good in one area, but you're having to do things in other areas, it zaps you and drains you. So those are things that make you want to go that way. But I also think I have to look at it this way. I say, all right, if God called me to a place with the same clarity that he gave me when he called me, and I knew he called me there, then I'm not going to leave until I am that clear that he's telling me to leave. There are times I want to quit. There are times I had a service one time where 300 people got up and walked out because they didn't like me. And I'm in the middle of the service. Church was just starting to grow, and they'd caused me some problems behind the scenes, and they get up and leave. I wanted to quit. But I remember thinking, okay, how do I turn that? And I told myself this before I even got far in the speech. I said, they must not have liked the music. Surely it's not me. And so I changed my own state. And I think a real secret to when you're feeling your worst or you're tired is acknowledge, I'm tired, I'm empty, I'd like to quit, but I need to change my state. And instead of being Elijah saying, oh, everybody's against me and it's terrible, I said, thank God I'm over here in this quiet place where I'm alone at the moment, and God's bringing me food here. And somewhere you got to change your state. What you focus on is what you will feel every time. And so you choose what you focus on, and you can choose how to guide your feelings. And so that, now I'm preaching to myself because the same advice I give you sounds so good, but by the end of the day, I may be saying, no, Bill, what I say, because I got to do it, So I hope that helps.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Bill, thank you so much for talking to us today and hanging with us. Man, I tell you what, some gold right there you just dropped in the last few minutes.
David, I always enjoy talking to you. You're one of my favorite people. Buddy, I love you. Thank God for what you're doing. And one day we're going to do that dinner or lunch together down in Tampa.
I look forward to it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, David.
All righty. Have a good day. Man, what a great interview with Bill Purvis. I am absolutely blown away. I've got a lot of notes here that I can use. Look, I hope you did as well. Listen, when it comes to faith, I promise you this, we're all going to want to quit, just like Bill said, but how amazing is it, right? You have an occupation, but we need a preoccupation. And look, guys, as men and women of faith, we need to be preoccupied with Jesus. Look, no matter how talented I am, I'm never talented enough, I've found, to do it without him. But all things are possible through Christ who strengthens you and I. Listen, I hope this was a blessing to you. We're going to be dropping the next episode of GC Talks really soon. Make sure you check it out when we do.